Welcome everyone to the show. What if all you thought you knew about love, loyalty, and family was an expertly constructed deception? What if the smiling faces on your television screen, the large blended family, the 4 wives, the 18 children, the man who professed to love them all equally were concealing something sinister? The reality is, Sister Wives wasn't merely a reality television show. It was a slow-motion tragedy. And at the heart of it was Cody Brown, a man who believed he could be all things to all people and wound up being nothing to everyone. Today we reveal the fall of a man who morphed from polygamous father figure to emotional pariah. We learn the secrets of the group's silence, the monetary failure of Coyote Pass, the breakups that never aired, and the poignant moment even Dayton, the shyest kid in the family, decided to walk away. It is not a sisterhood story. It is survival. And it starts with an easy one. How does a man lose everything while still acting like he has everything? There was a moment when Cody Brown towered over the crowd, his arms wrapped around 4 wives, almost 24 kids, and a cable deal that turned his unconventional existence into a national obsession. He was the face of a new American dream, one forged not on monogamy but on faith, family, and adaptability. Or so it seemed. But that dream, it's in shambles now. The brick-by-emotional-brick empire he constructed collapsed, not with a theatrical bang, but in agonizing, incremental pieces. TLC has slipped away quietly. The wives have departed, one each. The children are remote, some emotionally, others geographically. And even Robin, once Cody's emotional anchor, sits silently beside him, her soft cries of anguish replaced with empty glances. So, to what went wrong? The response is multifaceted, but it begins with favoritism, with neglect, and a gradual slide into control disguised as leadership. To outsiders, the Browns used to seem dysfunctional but lovable. They shared birthdays together, joint holidays, cringed their way through cringeworthy couch confessionals, and they envisioned one huge house on Coyote Pass, one utopia with wings for every wife, but one heart at its core. But beneath those grins were cracks that only deepened with the passage of time. Cody's affection wasn't equally shared. His time, his company, his love, it was always held in store for one. Robin. When she came into the family in 2010, everything changed. Cody was an infatuated teenager once again, purchasing her a wedding gown, stealing kisses, sleeping over. Whereas the other wives still had to be spiritual, Robin was the one who received the legal wedlock. The emotional closeness, the grand house, the lion's portion of his life, and the rest, they were required to give up, to remain sweet, to remain quiet. Christine, for all those years, felt invisible. She pleaded for human connection. She was met with indifference. Janelle? She remained pragmatic, stoic, hoping the storm would pass. And Meri, the initial wife, the anchor, gradually faded into background. This wasn't polygamy. This was a show. And while the producers of the show were peddling sisterhood, the truth was silent heartache behind each scene. Robin always protested that she didn't want to be the favorite, but she never relinquished the advantages. She didn't plot her way to the top. She just reaped the rewards of Cody's changing heart. And when Christine, Janelle, or Meri attempted to speak out against the imbalance, Robin seldom supported them. She usually drew Cody in. Even COVID showed where Cody's loyalty lay. Robin's fears, they became law, her kids got the visits, the others got lectures, guilt trips, or worse, radio silence. Janelle and Christine weren't being dramatic. They were being discarded. And when they voiced concern, Cody accused them of betrayal. "You're the problem." He said it on camera, with conviction. This wasn't just a marriage falling apart, it was an empire eroding. And Robin, unwittingly or not, was at its center. Then the dream house on Coyote Pass, a grand scheme Cody held onto. He made drawings, brought out floor plans, pitched it as architecture of unity. But Christine recognized it for what it was, yet another means of keeping Robin at the center of things. And this time, she didn't agree to pretend. She said no. Her defiance was the chink that at last broke the foundation wide open. Cody had spent hundreds of thousands on Coyote Pass, land they never built. While Robin resided in a $1 million house, the rest cycled through rentals, paying bills, playing debt. And Christine? She walked. First emotionally, then in body. She selected Utah. Chose peace. Chose herself. Janelle, being the devoted one, hung on longer. But even she realized the writing on the wall. Her name was on land and loans, but not on Cody's heart. She eventually let go as well. And Meri? She didn't storm out. She didn't yell. She simply no longer appeared. Quietly, graciously, she vanished from the story of Cody. The money ran out. The cameras did too. TLC never spoke up, but viewers saw briefer seasons, reruns, cancellation rumors. Why? Because Sister Wives ceased to be a family story and became a tragedy of isolation, favoritism, and deterioration. Viewers didn't watch for love anymore. They watched for the implosion. And gradually the show changed. Cody was no longer the besieged romantic. He was the king in a deteriorating kingdom. And Robin? No longer the elegant new wife. She was the face of disparity. By season 17, the flame had fizzled. Confessionals turned into confessions of anguish. Christine was succeeding, but behind the scenes. Janelle was a loser. Meri was overlooked. Robin was crying, and Cody was seething, grasping to get back in charge, but he couldn't, because the narrative had surpassed him. And within that silence, one more individual quietly departed. Dayton Brown. Always the quiet one. Robin's son from another relationship, the boy Cody adopted as his own, never caused any trouble. Never said a word. But now Dayton left the house, moved out, opted for independence, away from the show, away from the compound. It wasn't defiance, it was liberation. Because children observe, they notice the imbalance, the tension, the forced grins. And Dayton? He opted for peace instead of performance. Without saying anything, he spoke volumes about what he thought of it all. Even the next generation is deserting. Cody had envisioned himself as the head of a successful, loyal, contemporary, polygamous family. He envisioned himself as a leader, a teacher, a man of faith. Now? He's by himself, estranged from all but a few of his children, emotionally divorced from Janelle and Christine, legally divorced from Meri, spiritually lost. Even Robin, the former prize, now appears to be disillusioned. No big house, no family that's all together, no happily ever after. What's left? A man alone in a big, empty house with nothing but echoes and remembrances. He attempted to take charge of the story, but in doing that, he lost the people the story was actually about. And those who ended up walking away weren't fleeing from love, they were moving toward themselves. Christine, radiant in Utah with a new love. Janelle, constructing her life on strength, not sacrifice. Meri, finally finished being invisible. Dayton, ending the cycle without saying a word. And fans? They're not grieving the end of Sister Wives. They're basking in the glory of the women who found their voice, who opted for freedom over fantasy. Because the actual lesson in all this isn't plural marriage. It's about what goes on when love turns to control and loyalty becomes captivity. And Cody Brown? He's not the head honcho anymore. He's the warning. Behind the mask, the real cost of Cody Brown's control. Behind every empire, there is a secret nobody wants to tell. And for Cody Brown, that secret was this. He was not a troubled man with an overcomplicated dream. He was a man who demanded loyalty without offering love, who expected obedience while withholding emotional presence. For years, viewers watched wives like Janelle and Christine bend, stretch, and sacrifice under the weight of Cody's expectations. He called it spiritual leadership. But what it really was emotional domination. A slow suffocation wrapped in smiles and framed photos. What becomes of a woman who's told over and over to deny her needs? To be the good wife, the loyal wife, the quiet sister wife? She forgets who she is. That's what happened to Meri, the first wife, the woman who began it all. She carried the weight of seeing Cody fall in love with successive wives, as she was invited to smile and encourage him from the sidelines. And then there was the affair, the heartache with a catfish that reduced her to humiliating humiliation and humiliation before the world. Cody never forgave her. He never really got back together. And Meri, she remained. Not because she was content, but because she hoped. Hope that one day things would be like they once were. But they never were. Cody moved on. Emotionally, physically, spiritually. And Meri stayed, locked inside the husk of a marriage that had been dead for years. And all along, Robin stood at her side. Not only a wife, but a sanctuary. Cody came running to her with every grievance, every perceived slight, every time he felt misunderstood by the other wives. She wept for him, protested for him, made sense of him. But seldom, if ever, did she stand up for the other wives. There were camera moments that spoke volumes. The careless glances, the little smirks, the silence when confrontation was breaking. Robin didn't have to say anything. Her comfort, her reliability, her position at Cody's side spoke volumes. She was the hub. And the others? Collateral damage. Even the fans caught on eventually. At first they felt Robin's tears. They sympathized with her. But over time, the pattern was too hard to deny. Robin cried. Cody responded. The others endured. And whereas Robin's emotional needs were always accommodated, the other wives were presented with ultimatums, guilt trips, and spiritual shame. By the time Christine said she was leaving, viewers weren't surprised. They were relieved. It was the moment they had been waiting for. The moment one wife finally put her own happiness ahead of Cody's approval. And Christine didn't just leave. She broke the illusion. She revealed what had always been real. That unity was now manipulation. That love was not unconditional. That loyalty was a tool. She was finished playing games. And then, something strange occurred. She radiated. Post-Cody, Christine wasn't merely getting by. She was flourishing. A new family, a new romance, a new sparkle in her eyes. And suddenly, fans understood. This was not the tale of a failed marriage. It was the tale of transformation. And it didn't end with her. Janelle, the longtime peacemaker, began speaking out. In confessionals, in veiled barbs, in unspoken limits. She didn't yell, she didn't sob, she just said, enough. Enough of the disparate treatment. Enough of the empty promises. Enough of being financially accountable for a dream she didn't share. Cody demanded her allegiance, but he never gained her respect. And Janelle? She walked away, with dignity, with determination, with head held high. And then there was Meri, the quiet one, the ghost in the family. For years she pleaded for crumbs, a talk, a hug, a nod of recognition, and time again, Cody gave her none. Until at last, she stopped asking. She began posting cryptic quotes on Instagram, started appearing alone, and then, at last, stopped appearing altogether. No grand finales, no press releases, just a woman taking back her own silence instead of Cody's. It was beautiful. Because for years, Cody spoke for them all. He told the story of the family, presented himself as the hero, the victim, the unfairly maligned man just trying to keep his family together. But each of the women took back her voice one at a time. And then, poof, the story wasn't his anymore. Eventually, all the yelling dissipates, the crying stops, the fighting melts away into the past, and what remains is silence. That's where Cody Brown stands today, not in a home with laughter and foot traffic and sibling rivalry, but in an echo chamber of his own creation. The oneness he used to espouse is nowhere to be found. The call to spiritual greatness he professed now sounds hollow. And the wives, those amazing stalwart women, are no longer in his universe. They've created their own centers of gravity. Christine, once love-starved, now exudes freedom and love. Janelle, who sacrificed so much for so long, finally gets her time, her money, and her voice back. Meri, who endured quietly for so many years, stands in quiet strength, refusing to get lost in the shadows anymore. Even Dayton, Cody's one and only son, has opted for peace, leaving behind a family situation that drained instead of fueled. Cody held on so hard to control, to order, to a legacy he thought he could contain. But in the process, he strangled the very ones who gave that legacy life. The more he fought to retain it, the more they escaped. Not in defiance, but in survival. And Robin? The final wife standing, the final woman standing. She sits amidst the ashes of a dream constructed of silence, compromise, and unseen lines of favoritism. Once she was the refuge. Now she is the final player on a shattered stage. There are no longer big house blueprints, no longer one family schemes, just property taxes, unpaid land, and a romance that lived longer than its purpose. The cameras can continue to roll, the network can get a few more shows out of it. But the true story, the unvarnished, human, emotional one, is already on the page in the eyes of the women who walked away and never glanced back. Cody Brown wanted to be the leader of a legacy. He ended up becoming the caution. Final line, mic drop. At times, the strongest that a woman can do is walk away without word. And when she does, the silence speaks louder than anything Cody ever spoke. What really happened to the Brown family? This gripping exposé reveals the shocking downfall of sister wives. A story of love turned into control, loyalty twisted into silence, and a family empire shattered by favoritism, emotional betrayal, and financial ruin. From Christine's emotional escape to Janelle's quiet strength and Meri's heartbreaking isolation, this is the true story TLC never wanted you to see. Even Dayton, Robin's own son, chose to walk away. The truth behind the show isn't just dramatic, it's devastating. One man, 4 wives, 3 walked away. And what's left behind is more than just wreckage. It's a cautionary tale for every viewer who thought love was enough. Watch until the end to see how this once glowing family turned into an emotional ghost town. Subscribe for more truth behind the drama. Like if you support Christine, Janelle, or Meri. Comment your thoughts. Who do you think was really at fault? This family's drama is far from over, so smash. Like if you're Tosh or Team Wives, subscribe for the next explosive update. And drop a comment below. Who do you think will win? Stay shady, stay curious. And I'll see you in the next scandal. Behind TLC Sister Wives out.